build a barn. Barns are more important than houses. So I go around and we build a barn for you, and the next day we build a barn for you, and the next day a barn for you, and a barn for you, and a barn. Everybody gets a barn.
Like the Quakers.
And not a dollar was spent.
Talking about physical economy.
What was done
Gifting.
is credit was spent.
Gifting.
That is, say, I build you a
Barter economy.
barn,
It's physical.
and you damn well
Physical.
better
I give
build
to
him
you,
a
you
barn
give to them.
and everybody else a
Give
barn
it.
too, because you owe us all that labor,
Physical economy.
your fair share. I mean, to the ability you can commit it.
That's what
If you
said.
sprain your leg, you're probably off the hook. But basically, you're on the hook for the labor. Now, all this is done, and we produced all these barns without a dollar being spent and no bank involved. Now, then, after that, then they go around and they build farmhouses for people. And everybody got farmhouses. All over the community. The women, I guess, mainly did the cooking, but some of them would, help with carrying lumber and stuff. The thing was all done, and no money was spent. Now, this caused the prairie to be transformed into a prairie with farms, with barns and houses, and no banking involved. Now, this works up to a point, but then it ultimately doesn't scale, because if you know everybody and you've all built each other's barns, you have social control on the stuff. But when the community gets larger, to say more than people you can know, like 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 people, it no longer scales. Now you need money. And so the question is, what do you want? Do you want a money which is guaranteed by your community, or by some people off in Washington, D.C., who are controlled by a bunch of bankers in New York City, who are controlled by some other bankers in the city of London?
So what they use to trade?
And so what you do is you create the money based on, and it's indexed to production, not financial production, but the production of physical things and some services, in terms like library services, medical services, maybe not legal services. Maybe they should be killed. But notionally, then, what you do is you create the money, and it's guaranteed by the same people. That is to say, the people in this room could create a certain amount of money for our project, maybe the project of the common, the common law courts. But whatever you do, you create the money for the project, and then we, the same people, guarantee it. So if we build ourselves, for example, let's suppose we want to build a farmhouse. So we all put together $1,000 and we build a $10,000 farmhouse, a little bitty one.
Where'd that money come from?
And so now what's happened, we've created this money, and we've basically taken it from one pocket, our bank, our wallet pocket, and we've bought a bunch of supplies, and now we have a farmhouse which we all own equal shares of. So now we've lost $1,000 of our U.S. dollars, but we now have a farmhouse. If the farmhouse, if we buy it and build it smartly, we have a farmhouse which is worth exactly the amount of money we put into it. So the net loss is zero. We owe a debt to ourselves because we created this money. We owe a debt to ourselves, and we have a farmhouse. So now when the rains come, we go into the farmhouse and we're dry. The production, when you create money by fiat, you only lose when you fail to create equal value of production for the same amount. So, for example, if you create a $10,000 worth you take $10,000 worth of money and labor credit, whatever you want to call it, and then you fail to get equal value, then you lose. But if you build something even more valuable, then you win.
Isn't that what the greenback
Your
was?
suggestion earlier was that the state of California
has nothing to do with
created
The
$1
state of
trillion.
any group of any
And
size
I'm
can
just
do
saying, I'm skeptical about the ability of the state of California as a whole to create $1 trillion.
Well, there's a lot of
and
problems
to
with-
spend it well.
The problem is that it's representative government, and the misrepresentative government is run by misrepresentatives who in fact don't represent their constituent voters.
So you believe in
But
electronic democracy?
Instead, they represent the rich, the fat cats who make the political contributions. So you have to have money guaranteed by the same people who get the benefit from
But
it.
you're talking about a physical economy, but where you miss is that the gold standard is fiat currency will always go back to its intrinsic value, which is zero, and there's no fiat currency that has ever lasted more than 100 years. We're 100 years old now, which means we're long in the tooth of our dollar. In Bretton Woods, when Nixon took us off in '71, you missed the point because de Gaulle demanded his gold.
And the question is, why did it fail?
In France.
And
Nixon said, fuck off, because we were giving him too much gold. That's the real reason why it happened. So just you got to get history
Because of
straight.
de Gaulle, I mean, the reason the French were asking for it was because we were unable to pay. I mean,
Exactly.
We had too many dollars to
Exactly.
we couldn't redeem it.
Exactly,
But,
but
it's not de Gaulle's.
de
It
Gaulle
had nothing to do
demanded
with
it.
de
It's
Gaulle.
really, but that was the press. De Gaulle demanded. France.
What is your response
That was
to
at
his
the
point
same-
about the gold?
What you're talking about is the physical economy, which I agree with the physical economy. But a gold standard means that you have a backing for currency. So the fiat currency is backed by gold. And before fiat currency existed, the system of barter was gold and silver and barter. And then when the king, which
My
came,
point is, the societal production should be the backing for the fiat currency.
look, I've always professed, and so is, I think even in Lyndon LaRouche has professed, that we do not have a physical economy. We have something called, what Warren Buffett called, who is also shilling for his push in his own book, a sharecropper community. Because the bottom line is that we have no fucking manufacturing base. We used to have a great manufacturing
create
base.
it again.
Yeah, but that's what we need to do. But the bottom line is that what you said is like, if I had a farm, I would say something different. Hey, look, I don't know how to do irrigation. So you did irrigation for my farm.
I understand.
I build you a barn. We're square. It's a barter economy. I cut your hair. You could build
The
me a
fiat
stove.
currency is nothing but symbolic barter.
Exactly. And fiat currency is paper confetti bullshit. I never believed in that.
Yeah, but wait, the thing you're missing here is that because of these things have failed in the past, they've always been attacked by the powers that be, the Rockefellers and the Rothschild. So to say that these currencies don't last doesn't mean that they cannot last. It simply means that the people who have the money, have the gold,
A debt-based,
make the rules, and they
no, the
attack-
people
and
that have the gold don't make the rules. The bottom line is that if I issue currency and have a standard, a weight and measure to back it, if I print more dollars I can't print more dollars than the weight and measure will allow, unless I have more weight and measure. This way,
you're tied up with weight and measure.
No, but you got to understand.
And you're also tied up
Wait,
with the
wait.
concept
You
of
want to
debt.
listen to something? Listen to this. The purchasing power of a
been
dollar,
listening to you.
the purchasing power of a dollar would never be able to go up or down more than 1% when it's on a gold standard. The problem when he took us off is they allowed everybody's currency to print free flowing, and currency was based upon electricity, current, something that allows people, to move electricity. So now you have in the world competitive currency devaluation, where every country is now devaluing their currency so they can have an export business because I can buy their goods and services cheaper. So when you're on a gold standard, that cannot happen because the purchasing power is stable, and the Federal Reserve does not promote a stable currency.
You don't want the purchasing power to be stable because we're all slaves right now, and we have to collectively work as community to dig ourselves out of this. And the fact is, the 1% aren't going to give us our money back. We're going to have to do it ourselves. And the second thing where I think you're going is you're presuming a debt-based currency. I'm talking about a credit-based currency.
Well, credit system's good.
Okay, credit-based currency.
Credit system's good.
Credit-based currency and not dependent on other people's
I'm
money or
1,000% behind a credit-based system. Abso-fucking-lutely. A debt system is what the Federal Reserve created.
And the point is, the credit system I propose is a fiat money-based credit system, which is we the people make a fiat that we're going to support ourselves by creating some things. It can either be hours of labor, or it can be symbolic dollars, or a new unit of currency, whatever we want. But the secret is we have to back up our own money, and we have to use it to build real things, to add real value.
Let me
Real
make some
value,
points here
not
real
symbolic
quick.
value, not stored value, but real value,
Pete and John?
things that are actually created. Production.
You're making great points, John. The thing is, the government has a monopoly on money. You cannot create another fiat currency. That's strictly forbidden. You can't even pay for products in this country with a foreign currency.
And what do you think will
Legal.
happen now with the $17 trillion deficit?
What happened in the money panic of 1896?
The fact
this
is
is when
the-
J.P. Morgan stepped in, and with Rothschild's gold also, to what happened then in 1896?
When J.P. Morgan stepped in to bail out.
Right.
the
Why
government.
did he have to bail them out? Because the government was on a gold standard, and they didn't have enough gold.
Yeah.
And the government was in danger of becoming
They had the
insolvent.
wrong. See, but the problem is even in 28 when even Nouriel Roubini came out and said that the gold standard didn't work. That's because they had the price wrong. They only had it at they had it at $35 per
The money
ounce.
doesn't
instead of-
move.
They could just
the
move
money
to
doesn't-
72 and you're fine.
Listen, the money doesn't move fast enough unless you have a fiat currency in modern economics, a Keynesian level thing.
Keynesian is an absolute
Let him
fool.
make his point.
Listen,
Keynesian doesn't work at all.
go and check out, if you really want to flesh out what you're saying and understand what you're saying and understanding the real world in this respect, Check out what happened after 1873 with the free silver movement. Do you know what that was about?
No, I have to research
Because
that.
the
I
big
don't know what that's
bankers
about.
sat in New York on their gold. The gold didn't move. You have populists out in the countryside, farmers, laborers of various sorts. They backed William Jennings Bryan and the free silver movement so they would
Cross the
monetize
gold
silver,
seed, right.
which both silver and gold are allowed as currency by the Constitution. So that was the free silver movement. The money doesn't move fast enough. It sits underneath the capitalists.
See, I'm going to add to what you're saying. Back then, there was a physical economy where they had a barter system which worked. The bottom line is if everybody's creating infrastructure and everybody's doing things for each other, that's a physical economy because everybody grow food, they built roads, they tried to build bridges. Those things when people they got paid because they could take food from this farmer in exchange for giving him something else. That's a physical economy which works. And in America, when we had our own revolution of a manufacturing base, we were the strongest manufacturers in the world until Clinton gave it away.
We
And
were
the
the productive capacity of the world
Absolutely.
after World War II because there was so much destruction elsewhere.
Absolutely.
And we got used to that largesse. I'm a former auto worker. You know, we
Got
got
it.
used to that largesse, and it disappeared.
Okay, so let's go to the Bank of
but it's
International
never-
Settlements. But the Bank of International Settlements was created to lend money to those countries, to those people that got destroyed in the war.
Well,
There's no
it
reation for them to
settles
function now.
interbank debts.
But
That's
there's
the
no
prime
no
fo-
No,
there's
no,
no
you meant the
prime
World
focus
Bank
of
and the
Federal
IMF.
Reserve.
no,
not the BIS.
BIS.
You meant the World Bank.
The World Bank doesn't do that.
BIS.
The International Monetary
Monetary-
Yeah, I'm sorry, the
You
IMF.
said the BIS.
Sorry, my
Anyway,
fault.
Hang on
IMF, you're
one
correct.
second.
IMF.
We
Did
knew
you
what
want to
you
interject something, John?
Absolutely did. There's two ways around it. The first way is that existing banking law allows banks to loan money into existence. They just do it. So if you happen to own a bank, and I'm proposing a Bank of California, a state Bank of California owned by the citizens of California,
Okay.
and then what you'd simply
Like
do.
what Ellen.
Ellen Brown.
Ellen Brown's
Ellen Brown,
and
yeah.
you simply
Well,
loan the
but,
money into
yeah.
existence.
North Dakota.
The
They
BIS
do in North Dakota.
the BIS model allows that you change the accords, the third level of accords, and I don't remember the numbers, but essentially the leverage is very, very high. And if you have $1 billion, you can create something like $16 billion in terms. It was like usually about 8% or something. So
Well, with the reserve requirements, it's a multiplicative function where you can get like 10 times.
it's more than 10.
That's fractional.
Well, yeah,
that's a
but-
fractional
Still have
bank.
fractional
But
banking?
what you do is if you have a certain amount of capital, you can multiply it and loan more money into existence.
Right.
And in fact, the government doesn't even check on that because regular banks just loan any amount of money into existence.
Well, all
And-
banks
and-
have to
They have
balance
a
their
reserve.
books nightly.
They have a
you loan
reserve
it-
requirement.
You loan it into existence, and then you create projects that California needs, and California needs jobs. So you create projects for stuff that California needs, whether they be roads, bridges, more libraries on the corner. health-
That's what I was saying with it. If you have a government national bank, if you had a state bank, you could do the same thing. Our legislation could order bonds, they could approve bonds and bid it out to the private sector, and that's how you stimulate economic
You don't
growth.
want to do
look-
bonds. You want to loan the stuff in directly. What you do is you create your projects. You decide what California needs in terms of real wealth.
They're about
So-
to issue $2 billion in bonds
You
now.
don't ever
and
want to go to bonds.
Jerry Brown's coming out with a $2 billion
sorry,
issue.
I'm sorry.
For what?
Bonds
It's
are
coming out now.
bonds
What
are
is-
the
what's the
wrong
purpose?
way to go.
It's
So
a
he's
general
making-
obligation bond.
Bonds
It's
are
at
the-
least $2 billion, and they're not getting much of a market because people are doubtful about
You
California's.
want to stay away from bonds. Bonds are the path to economic slavery, being a slave. So you just don't want to touch bonds. What you do is you create your bank and then you loan the money into existence. And you create
Essentially a
projects.
bond
You have
for
to
somebody
decide
else.
what you want strategically. What California needs. Do you need free education? You want more universities? You need more roads? You figure out what you need in terms of real wealth, and you create projects for that, and then you hire the Californians to work on those projects to provide that production for the real wealth that California's figured out strategically. And I propose that the people
Shape that point. California has figured out strategically. You said you weren't for representative government. Did they do that to some sort of
Yeah, it's simple. You simply do. You simply this. You have
Toffler-esque
every
electronic democracy?
Every year, you have the people of California vote for their strategic priorities using single transferable voting. And that way you can vote for your priorities first, second, third, whatever, and then you just calculate what it is. And maybe they want to build a soccer stadium. Mexicans.
Well,
want
Lincoln
a
did
soccer
that with the
stadium.
greenbacks.
Yeah,
So just to finish,
Lincoln did it with the
that's-
greenbacks.
Ask about the
that's
greenbacks.
confidence.
Lincoln did it with the greenback system.
Electronic
Didn't that
democracy
work?
thing.
Didn't that work?
Yes,
pretty
it
good?
worked
Money.
phenomenally
Great.
well.
That's
That
what
was
he
just
talked
money
about.
printed out of
Perhaps.
nothing also.
Yeah.
The point is you
No,
create-
they
you
had
create
no
your stuff.
income tax then.
And
They
now-
used- they used
No, it doesn't
corporations
matter,
to
but it
fund
was
the
just,
war.
it was just printed fabric.
So there's
again,
no
just like the
more,
Federal
no
Reserve.
more
No, but
legislature.
when they were done with the
We
project,
are,
they
we are the
called it in.
legislature.
We the people
They-
are
they-
the
that's what the
legislature
greenback system was.
for- to
They didn't leave it out there, they
determine
called
the
it in.
strategic
Pete,
project
he's making
of
a
the
very
Civil
important
War.
point.
Yeah.
Sorry, go
The
ahead.
point- The point is this, is that we the people create our bank, and we the people control the spending priorities of our bank. We the people vote every year for a certain, I mean, you don't do it all in one election, but you basically decide, let's suppose we're going to create, I should say $1 trillion worth of credit to fix California's economy. And you're going to spend this $1 trillion at, let's say, $100 billion a year. That's 10 years. So every year, you say that we the people are going to vote for our strategic priorities. You may want a soccer stadium. I may want a library. He may want more medical centers.
But you're talking about U.S. dollars, right?
I'm
No,
talking.
not
Yes,
anymore.
I'm talking about a real bank lending money exactly like any other bank does
But
right
it's
now.
state bank.
How do you
And-
capitalize it?
And
Where do you start? with?
please, you keep interrupting, and it's so annoying.
It's a good question.
I mean, can't you not be patient enough?
He's not good at being interrupted, so please, get
I
in.
just asked
this
a
is-
basic
I've
question.
It's a
seen him
complex-
deal
it's a
with
complex-
interruptions before, he's not good at that.
It's complex.
John, please continue.
Sure. So
But wrap it up
notionally,
quickly.
then, what you do is we the people vote on how we're going to spend the first $100 billion, and then we create these jobs, and everybody works, and the economy booms, and now everybody's working, and so we're now collecting more income tax, more sales tax, etc., and the money is flowing, and California is prospering. Now, to go back to your question, to how do you capitalize it, we simply use the capital of California. We have the land of California, the beaches of California, all the infrastructure, all the buildings of California. It's on the order of, I don't know, let's say, on the order of $250 billion worth of property. And that doesn't even, that's just.
And people put up money against
So
this
you're
collateral.
you're printing money for nothing. Where's the backing for the capital
that's
that
all
you're
my
going
question.
to?
Talking
California,
about the assets.
the property of California is the value, is the backing for this
So it's backed by
bank.
real estate.
So if people come.
Real estate and the beaches, the parks, the
Right.
national, the forests, all this stuff is the capital. We have a certain amount of money in the bank. California has on the order. I'm trying to remember. It's about a budget of about $250 billion a year, and
But they offer these assets so people give them liquid money so they can do these projects.
No, it's not
The
people.
thing
No,
is,
it's not people. It's not
thing
people.
is,
You
if
want a
they-
bank to issue credit
well,
based
if they,
upon that.
if they
The
defaulted
bank
on
issues
that,
credit. We use the value of the property of the state of California,
Uh-huh.
and we use that as capital to back our thing here. And based on that, the bank creates per year, say $100 billion, and we lend that money into existence for projects that stimulate the economy of the state of California.
Get it.
And then it turns out to be a profitable business.
You know what? You're speaking close to what Lincoln did with the greenback
Yeah,
system.
no, it's his idea.
No, well, see,
And before that, it was Benjamin Franklin.
listen, may I invite anyone about economics to read Henry Carey, to read the American System of Economics. Keynesian system of economics is basically completely flawed because it's the theory of lending and spending and curing that
Well, you
problem with
guys
more
are in
lending and
agreement
spending.
about
I'm
that.
talking about the
Yeah.
Lincoln system.
Well, that would be the American system of economics,
Yeah.
which is purveyed by economist Henry Carey.
Was that Henry Clay?
Well,
Henry
I'm not
Carey.
about Henry
But
Carey,
Henry
it doesn't
Clay,
matter.
John.
But the point is, it was similar to
Listen-
what Franklin did in Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay,
In-
good.
in-
So to be clear, really that system was by Henry Carey, who was Lincoln's advisor, who is quite brilliant. And I think the American system of economics is phenomenal, but the U.S. doesn't teach that.
Well,
Because
I'm
you know why?
proposing it for you.
But they don't teach that because they want to use this entire fiat currency scam that's debt-based instead of credit-based.
Well, you guys
which
are
is what
totally in
Henry-
agreement on
I-
that.
We're absolutely in agreement in that.
That's what I said. Yes, it's fiat currency, but it's not debt based. It is
It's
credit.
credit-based. So
see if you
that's
can
the
figure
problem.
out where the-
So that's the
which
issue.
has the better argument
That's
on
the,
gold.
that's the issue with the Fed. By the way, in 28, if the gold price would have been doubled if the Fed just changed the value of gold at will. I mean, the Treasury, the government. If the government wanted to say
bank holiday.
if the government wanted to say the price of gold and said it's not going to be 35 an ounce, it's going to be 70, they would have no problem. They would have had no problem. The bottom line is that if you want to back a currency by the full faith of the U.S. government, what does that mean now? It means nothing. It said the check's in the mail. What does that mean? It means nothing. So, but I don't want the full faith of the U.S. government. I want a tangible asset.
Well, California has a lot of assets.
Well, John, if that's true, and then the creditor, the giving the credit, then would have claim against those assets, then you could have private interest on these beaches. And that reminds me of what you mentioned earlier. You're talking
No,
about
you
John
don't, because-
Perkins,
Right.
when they would go in and finance these projects and end up in control of the assets of like Ecuador because they couldn't pay for that hydroelectric dam, the
Yeah, but that was
electricity.
all
Deliberate
That was
overlending.
debt.
It
That
was
was debt.
credit to
But it was
ourselves.
deliberate.
How's that not debt?
It's not debt because
How's it
it's
not debt?
It is
Because you
debt.
say it's
No,
not
it is debt. Excuse me, it is debt.
Hang on,
Pete.
Pete.
You're right.
We
Go
got
ahead.
your enthusiasm.
You're right.
Go ahead, John.
It's what you do is if banking law allows you to loan money into existence, and if we the people loan the money to ourselves, our own state, and we create projects to create tangible wealth, production, and I'm not talking about useless stuff like
Money
tortilla
that's backed
factories,
by the full faith and credit of.
Of who?
of the people of California,
So there's no interest.
and its assets.
Okay,
Well,
well, that means
the
that if
public
somehow
asset-
something goes wrong, the creditor needs his money back.
credit- no,
he
wait a
can,
minute.
he can go to the
What if-
people
what
of
if the people
California
are
and
not
ask for
honorable?
their beaches.
The creditor is ourselves.
That's-
The creditor is ourselves.
I
Those are
know
back
the
in.
debt is owned to ourselves, but who is us, white man?
The-
You know, I don't think the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers want us dropping by for dinner.
I'm
You know,
sorry,
it's just not that kind of us.
And if we have a world problem, listen, respectfully, nobody can eat gold, no one can eat silver. We have to
Like the
still,
Indians
still
say,
do
you
it.
can't eat money.
I know you can't. The bottom line still
Corn.
the most things the things that are most important are really consumables. You know, food, energy, the things that we actually have to live off of. Those are really the most valuable things because really everything is an illusion. What is the value of gold unless someone gives it a value?
that's
What
why
is the value of silver?
Had no value to the Native
Listen,
Americans.
well, what about
Oh,
what
that's
about what
shiny.
about what about
That's
diamonds?
why derivatives were so invidious
I know
because
they
they were
are.
extension, abstraction on top of the abstraction.
Indeed. Abstraction on top of
Well, when
it.
you
Yeah,
have
yeah.
Enron selling the future of energy that does not exist, and
Right.
someone made a market out of it,
Right.
Let's not
You're
even
ta-
go
you're
to
talking about
derivatives.
greed.
It's a big distraction.
Yeah,
it's
it's
clearly
too
the
big a
wrong
topic.
thing to do. It's the wrong thing to focus on. It's a problem, not a solution.
Definitely.
The solution is public
credit-based system is the
public
solution.
owned banking, which uses the
What do you
peop-
think? What do you
the
think
credit
of that?
the credit of the people
A
to
credit-based
create-
system.
to create the credit of the people to create to create a bank to create
And it's
to let-
working
to
in
create-
North
to-
Dakota, right?
Yeah, except that's run by bankers who have been selected by the banking industry.
I think it
And you
does a
don't ever
limited-
want to do
more
that.
limited
You want to
function.
have the people. You want to have the spending priorities of the bank done by the people, who are the same people who are responsible for the bank if it goes down.
What did Lincoln use the greenbacks? He didn't use anything. He just put it
financed
up.
the Civil
No,
War.
no,
No,
yes,
but what did he
But
just
the
put it out
railroads
there?
too.
He didn't have.
He issued it directly out of the Treasury, like Kennedy did.
Right.
with the
Right,
US
and when they were finished with the use of the greenbacks, he called it back
called
in.
it back in, but there was no land or anything as a debt.
didn't use
So
any, no.
Full
So-
faith and credit of the United States of America.
That's
so
right.
that
Which is the
so
people.
It was a gamble on the U.S.
backed by the
It's
Union.
like the Continental
It was
currency
backed by
was
the
when we
Union
had the
Army.
Revolution.
Right.
You know, people didn't want Continentals. They were happy when they won.
Look,
they could get their money
look,
back.
the-
patient.
listen, this is great. The thing to encourage everybody is that a credit-based system is the system to go to, and the United States does not teach American system of economics. And everybody who wants to deal with economics should study the American
Henry
system.
Carey.
Henry Carey. Henry Carey is the best
So-
example of that system. Anybody wants to get educated, read it. Why do they promote Keynesian? Some people promote Austrian, which I like much better than Keynesian, but I'm partial to the American
So
system of
Webster
economics.
Tarpley and Lyndon LaRouche are both advocates of the American system, correct? In
Correct.
the present tense.
I believe so.
So you're much more comfortable with him than Ron Paul?
Yeah, no, I'm much.
Ron Paul's
I
just
would,
gold.
I would agree. I agree with what you just said. Yes, I am. I'm more comfortable with the American system of
So
economics.
you think Webster Tarpley in the present tense has the best solution?
Isn't he a 9/11?
Yeah,
What's
but
the-
no,
I
but
don't
his
know
main
anything about
thing is, if you look at the research,
I don't know.
he worked with LaRouche until they broke off about 20 years ago.
Yeah, they had a big fight.
But he has been advocating almost essentially the same problem.
Well, I know
The
LaRouche is
physical-
very
the
big
physical
on
system.
putting people to
I
work
gotta
in
go to
building.
bed.
Yeah.
Thank you, but
Yeah.
the physical system.
Yeah.
Thank you.